Leo. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for January of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas in Pioneer, California.
Well, Leo, this month's emphasis in your sixth house of work, health, and service is likely bringing your attention to the work arena and the workplace specifically, and ways that you could get better organized and make better systems. If you want to know more about that, that's more targeted to you personally, you could get a mission orders reading, which goes into the arena of career in depth. And you can find a link for that in the YouTube description below. Well, Leo, there is something that I haven't typically reported on in the past, but I've decided to begin because I think it's really important. And that is Ceres retrograde. Ceres is retrograde now and has been since October. And Ceres covers some pretty important things, the things that connect us to the physical world, our physical bodies, and how we engage in good stewardship of our body. Also the food that we put into our body and the money we make to sustain our physical existence. So when Ceres goes retrograde, it engages in a period of retrospection. That's what retrogradation does. And it will do that in the areas that are typical for Ceres, so food, body, and money. So basically what I'm telling you is that Ceres has put all of us into a retrospection period, mostly where we've been worrying maybe a little too much about finances since October 8th. So if you feel like that's when it began for you, the present worries that you're engaged in, and it may have been attended by some crises, big or small, financially, particularly around November 26th, which I like to call Financial Crises Day. Nobody likes to, have to name something like that, but yeah. And that was a day when there was a major stock market drop too. And I think that it really brought all of us up short about, how do we spend our money? How do we save our money? How do we manage our money? And how can we do it better? Ceres' main message this year, and she does this every year, by the way, goes retrograde every year, but her main message this year is it's time to stop worrying about abstractions and return to the basics, return to the fundamentals, and return to old ways of budgeting that have worked for you before. And so this is the time when you should be investigating that sort of thing. Now Ceres is going to finish its retrograde period on January 14. I'll show you what that looks like. You'll see this little RX symbol is going to go away. There it is, it's gone. And at that point, we can begin to breathe a sigh of relief, although it'll be another 2 weeks before Ceres kind of gets up to her normal speed. That we'll be heading out of the woods at that point. And so spending this time doing that return to basics is a really good way to spend it. Okay, and there's a video about this in our January 2021 news playlist on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology, also on our forecast page on our website, pandoraastrology.com. You can find out a lot more about this series stuff. Hey, Julia, what have you got about Mercury, Mars, and Venus for the Leos of the world?
I certainly do have some stuff. Hey there, Leo. I'll begin with Mercury. That planet rules your mind, and wherever you have it is where you really use a lot of your mind that month. So at the very beginning of the month on January 2nd, Mercury moves into your 7th house of partnership and consultants. So the 7th house is one of one-to-one relationships. So that means that you could be doing your best thinking in a one-to-one context with somebody else to bounce your ideas off of. Now, Mercury will go retrograde on the 14th. And since this house also rules consultants, any new consultant that you hire around that time, whether it's a doctor or a lawyer or a counselor, you might want a second opinion. You might want to, go to somebody else or rethink that hire. So, just be a little bit open-minded to that if you do need to hire somebody. And Mercury retrograde in the 7th can also bring miscommunications in your partnership if you are a part of one. Now, Mars, the planet of action and activity starts the month in your fifth house of children, fun, and games. So when Mars is in the fifth, you want to just go out and have a good time and not have to sit down and do a lot of work or, follow through on any of your responsibilities. So if you can do that, then it's great. But if you can't, then it can be a little bit frustrating. The fifth house also rules children too, and Mars can bring some tension. So you could have some disagreements or arguments with your kids if you have any. Then on January 24th, Mars moves into your sixth house. This is the house of routines and health and work. With Mars in the sixth, you could run into some problems and frustrations at work, maybe software not working out, or maybe, disagreements with your work colleagues or clients. Mars in the sixth can also aggravate any chronic health conditions you have, stuff that you've been dealing with for a while, whether it's a little bit of IBS or migraines, they might start acting up a bit again too. Then Venus, the planet of art, beauty, and relationship, starts the month retrograde in your sixth house too. So with Venus retrograde in the sixth, I really covered the cycle a lot in last month's video because the cycle covers 6 weeks. So it spans 2 months. So you should go back and sort of listen to what I said then because it's still very relevant to what's going on now. However, very briefly, Venus retrograde cycles are times of relationship review. And in the sixth house, the house of service, the house of work, the house of health, these could be things that you're thinking about in terms of your romantic relationship, such as whether there's a good practical and service-oriented foundation in your guys' relationship, or whether one person helps the other person more, and there's kind of an asymmetry there that needs to be fixed. Since the sixth house also rules health, you might be reviewing your relationships in terms of health. Like, does your partner take care of their health enough, or have they been kind of getting on you to do some more better care for your health too? And I know that we also have more relationship news coming up because Jamie's going to tell us about Juno, that really cool marriage asteroid.
Yes. So Juno, it's interesting and almost ironic because while Venus is going retrograde and engaging in a period of retrospection, Juno is going direct and really about as fast as possible. And the sun also conjuncts Juno. And so it's a great time for committed relationships, for contractual relationships to go forward, for serious relationships to find their right structure and take their next step. But when it comes to romance and feelings of love, that is really undergoing, that retrospection period that happens when Venus is retrograde. And, it occurred to me as you were talking about this house, Julia, that this Venus retrograde in the sixth house could have something to do with a work romance. And I would think it's probably an ill-advised work romance. If Venus is retrograde here while Juno is moving forward, it may be that there is an old attraction that you have had to somebody at your workplace in the past, which you nipped in the bud before, and that was the most sensible thing to do. And now it's rearing its head again. And you may have to make that decision all over again to not date that person who's really inappropriate to date. And I think that Juno is the one who needs to make the decision because Juno is about committed relationships. You need to think about if this person is a work colleague and I want to get good work done with them in the future, well, then I should probably really think what to do with any romantic or sexual energy that there might seem to be between us. And think about the solidity of the relationship going forward before you, unzipper your pants. Let's see. So a couple more things I want to tell you about. There are 2 moons this month. The first of them is the new moon in Capricorn, also falling in your 6th house. And we really have been talking about your 6th house a lot. Like I said, it has to do with organization. It has to do with the systems that make life run, both at home and at work, and health routines as well. And so this moon, we're calling it when toughing it out doesn't work anymore, because the mood carried by this moon in its square with Chiron is the mood of really being on the verge of burnout and kind of getting to the end of what you can do with your energies. Now, new moons are about rebirth. And so this suggests a rebirth that springs from an awareness of how close you have come to burnout, especially in your job situation, because these things fall in the sixth house. So this moon could be a little dramatic, therefore, but we will probably find a resolution about 2 weeks later at the full moon, right here on the 17th, where the moon falls in Cancer and in your 12th house. And this is a house of solitude. It's a house of dreams. It's a house of contemplation, engagement with spiritual and religious practices. It's a house of the otherworldly. And when the moon lands here, it's kind of like a big old message from the divine saying some self-care in solitude needs to happen to balance out all of the effort that you've been putting in the workplace and all the ways that you've been responsible and held it together even when you felt like you were dying inside. So this moon we're calling relax and allow the break you've been working toward. And this moon is a really great time to do that. Just get off by yourself where nobody, cares or even knows how you look, and you don't have to look good. You can just take care of yourself. So then we have the seasonal change. The sun has been traveling along through the sign of Capricorn, which tropical Western astrologers view as a season, not a constellation. So in the season of Capricorn, of course, the light has begun increasing ever since the solstice happened. And now at the new seasonal change into Aquarius, around January 19th or 20th, the sun moves over into the 7th house, which begins to take some of the attention that you've been putting into work and shift it on over into the 7th house domain of partnerships. Now, sunlight is a life-giving force, and wherever the sun goes, it sheds sunlight. And the best metaphor for that in human life is attention. Wherever the sun goes, put your attention there so that things can grow and become more vigorous and expanded through the power of your attention. So the seasonal shift is saying, begin to put your attention into your relationships, put yourself in your partner's shoes, and really be your most relatable self during the season of Aquarius. All right, well, that's what we have for you today, Leo. Hope you enjoyed it. You can always find your horoscope on our horoscope page at pandoraastrology.com. And you can find videos about the things that we talked about, the moons, Ceres retrograde, Venus and Juno, Mercury retrograde too, on our monthly forecast page there on the website. And if this horoscope makes you interested to find out more about your own chart or how these influences play out for you personally, then check out the readings tab where you can get a reading. And there's a classes tab there too, where you can take a class. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye-bye.
Bye.